sorry. Public disclosure of potential litigant would prejudice the city of Ridgecrest. We need a motion to approve the agenda with the added item.
Second, it's a needs arose, correct?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, public comment on the closed sessions. Person wishing to...
I need to take the vote.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent.
Okay, now public comment on closed session. Persons wishing to address the council on matters for closed session may do so at this time. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Is there anybody who wants to make a comment? Okay.
Mike Neal. Regarding the closed session property negotiations for acquisition, various APN numbers listed here. Got really curious about why in the world the city with no money is looking at property acquisitions. So I looked at the properties proper on the county website, and lo and behold, strange timing for the city to be looking at acquiring possible acquisition of Tommy T's casino building and the buildings on either side of that. Even more curious is the fact that if you look at the square footage of the Tommy T's and the adjacent building, which is actually right exactly butted up next to it, it's 18,000 square feet of space there. Just happens to be really close to the amount of square footage the proposed new casino is talking about. Of course, it's closed session, so nobody really knows what's going on, but I've brought this up to a few people. I can tell you right now there's a lot of curiosity about this particular item and why a broke town is looking at buying properties, which no doubt Tommy T's Casino is going to be quite pricey, and why the city wants to buy a ongoing casino enterprise at this point in time. So, we're just guessing. Somebody has one guess is, well, Tommy T's is complaining, saying they're going to sue because you're going to kick them out of business when you bring the casino in. So maybe they're going to try to force a buy or something like that. The other guess is, well, maybe the Indians don't want to wait a couple of years to get their casino built. Maybe they're trying to work a deal here. We don't know. Unfortunately, Mr. Parsons is not normally forthcoming with information. I put in Public Records Act requests, and he won't supply any information whatsoever, so it doesn't build a lot of trust with the public here. So when things like this come up, you guys just get ready for a lot of questions.
It is a closed session item, sir.
Yeah, I do know that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Neal. Okay, is there any other public comment? Okay, then we will go into closed session and we will return. Thank you. everybody's here? We're waiting for Keith. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Regular session. The pledge. Laura, will you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Councilman Thomas is going to lead us in the invocation.
Shall we bow, please? Father God, we thank you for this opportunity of gathering together of hearts and minds and souls that have this great city at heart. We thank you, Father, for giving us wisdom and guidance and the opportunity to ask for your wisdom and guidance, and that we will pursue that. And then, Father, we thank you for giving comfort and ability to lean upon you for those that experienced the shooting event that went on. Father, watch over them and cover their families, and watch over our first responders and those that watch over and protect us in so many ways in government. We thank you and we love you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Please be seated. Okay. City Attorney's report, please.
Yes, we have a report out of closed session. First item considered by the City Council was undisclosed litigation. The City Council received a report from the City Attorney regarding that matter, and I have nothing to disclose publicly regarding that matter. There's no action taken to disclose. Next item discussed was real property negotiations for the APN numbers 080112-13 et al. You can see the full description on the agenda. I think that's referred to as Tommy T's property. Is that we're calling that Tommy T's area? And the City Council took no action on that item, but we want to make it clear that the City Council is not planning on taking any action regarding that matter. So in other words, the City Council is not considering acquiring that property at this time. The City Council also considered negotiations for the transfer of Leroy Jackson Park. Agency negotiator Patton discussed that matter with the City Council. No action was taken on that matter. However, it's expected that agreement will come up for action in public session in a future meeting in the near future, perhaps at the next meeting. Finally, the City Council considered the sale of the property identified on here as the business park, and received a discussion from agency negotiator Parsons, and no reportable action was taken on that matter. And just again for clarity, in the event that any action is taken on that matter, it will be done in public at a public session, not in closed session. Madam Mayor, that concludes the report.
Thank you, sir. The next item is a joyous one. We have some we don't have any presentations. We have presentations. And so, Chief, you have the first one. You want us to join you up there?
Yes, ma'am, if you
Okay.
wouldn't mind.
We'd be honored to do so.
This presentation tonight is for Sharon Homer, who's retiring for 20 years of service with the Ridgecrest Police Department as a dispatcher. Madam Mayor, I have a proclamation here for you to present to Dispatcher Homer. You don't mind doing that?
No, I'd be proud. A proclamation, the City of Ridgecrest, California, in honor of Ridgecrest Police Dispatcher Sharon Homer upon the occasion of her retirement. Whereas Sharon Homer began her full-time career with the City of Ridgecrest March 11, 1997 as a police dispatcher for the Ridgecrest Police Department, and whereas Sharon Homer worked a variety of assignments throughout her career, including dispatcher trainer, RIMS coordinator, PSAP Manager, Technical Dispatcher, and whereas Sharon Homer was selected as Employee of the Year for the Ridgecrest Police Department in the year 2001 and received numerous commendation and letters of appreciation for her good work. And whereas Sharon Homer did the research for the purchase of 2 911 systems for the Ridgecrest Police Department and remodeled the dispatch center radio console, and whereas Sharon Homer has continuously maintained an exceedingly high level of professionalism and dedication to duty, even through floods, power outages, and other major incidents, and whereas Sharon Homer has retired after providing over 21 years of faithful and honorable service to our community, which included 2.5 years of part-time service through a temporary employment agency. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the City of Ridgecrest, the City Council hereby recognize and thank Ridgecrest Police Dispatcher Sharon Homer for her professional and personal dedication to the City of Ridgecrest, and on the occasion of her retirement, presented this day, signed by all. And there, you should have been up here. Thank you.
Officer Kenny Merzlak will come down and present a present for Dispatcher Homer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Officer Kenny Merzlak. This is Sergeant Ryan Maroney. For those of you that don't know Sharon, she's probably one of the most caring and compassionate people that I've ever met. These are all great qualities that you can find in any dispatcher. With these qualities, she's been able to bring some sort of comfort to people in emergency situations. It's obvious that she's loved her job and the people that she's worked with over the years that she's been with the department. And for these reasons, I'd like to express to Sharon how much she will be missed at the police department and congratulate her on her retirement. And on behalf of the association and your police department family, we'd like to present you with this flag. It's the thin gold line. It was handcrafted, and it's to represent dispatchers, those who are rarely seen but always heard.
As Officer Merzlak said, I'm Sergeant Ryan Maroney. I've had the honor of being Sharon's supervisor for at least the last 8.5 years. I've been with the PD for 16 years, and obviously Sharon's been with us for over 21 years. I went online to look up words to describe a 911 dispatcher, and I'm going to read those words to you. Communicator, lifeline, caring, honorable, calm under pressure, strong, unsung hero, dedicated, skilled, compassionate, multitasker, service to others. And as Officer Merzlak said, we as a PD would like to thank Sharon for being our, get up here, being our department mom, sister, Santa's helper for all these years at the department's children's Christmas party, and last but certainly not least, caring so much about our community. You're going to be missed, but now it's time to hang out with your family, your other family, and we just want to congratulate you on this retirement. It's well deserved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
We're trying to send her off right. Sharon has meant a lot to our organization. To be a dispatcher is probably one of the most difficult jobs in the department. The officers, they get dispatched to the call, they get to see what happens. When they holler on the radio with something unintelligible, they kind of know what's going on. But for the dispatcher sitting in there, hearing an unusual voice or something different in the officer's voice really puts them on edge. The dispatchers are, they're responsible for taking care of the community and seeing that the officers get out to the location in a timely manner. They're responsible for organizing and prioritizing the calls. They have to determine whether or not this is an emergency response when you get the people there immediately or can wait. So they are pivotal in us being able to respond to the community in an efficient, effective manner and maintaining the safety. And Sharon has done a wonderful job about that. I mean, when she first started, I was an officer or a detective, and I probably wasn't the best fan of dispatch. probably broke every rule there was, and
Yes.
yeah, I know. And I was told several times, even by our other retired dispatcher, Lori Benson. I really didn't appreciate it until I started moving up the ranks and really realized how important they were to the organization. And so, Sharon, you're going to be sorely missed. You worked really well for us. I'll miss the conversations we had over the years and about family and everything. So what I have here is a crystal plaque on behalf of your retirement in recognition for 21 years of faithful service. And it has the names of all the council people, the city manager, and me on there.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And one more thing.
Oh, my.
Just a bouquet of flowers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now it's time for your speech.
Talking may have been my business, but right now I'm kind of speechless. Thank you. It's been a wonderful ride. I will never forget some of the shifts I had with you. They were always the wild and woolly ones. It's been wonderful to serve the community. I've been blessed to have a job where I can make a difference in people's lives, and that has meant everything to me. Thank you.
Yeah, you can get the counseling too.
What about the rest of the officers?
Officers that are in here now. Come on, guys. Don't be shy. You're not usually.
That's you guys in the back. Come on.
You.
I'm shy.
Richie. With the guns. This way. Right here, guys.
Come on, Dilly.
They're going to make you squeeze. You might as well come on.
I got Dilly coming still.
Where's Dilly? Get in here, Dilly.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Oh, Sharon.
Good job, everybody. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Public comment, please.
Al Huey, my address is on file. I just have a question. I don't know if it's really for the council or for the attorney. On these closed session items, such as property negotiations where APN numbers are given, would it be possible for the benefit of the public to include a physical location of the properties?
It's possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dave Matthews' address is on file also. Thank you, Al. I think I asked that question quite a number of years ago. I had the privilege this past weekend to spend a few days out of town, actually acquiring a new grandson-in-law, I guess you could say. My oldest granddaughter got married.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. It took place in Julian, California. I had never been up there before, and what happened was that it turns out that it's apparently an old gold mining town, which I did not know there was gold mines down that far. But it's a little tourist town, and it's also, I guess, what you could call a tourist trap. If you don't live there, you pay the higher prices. Anyway, my lodge was right in town, and right behind it and off to the east was a little section that looked like some of the older town. And one of the buildings that was there and noted and also had a tourist, was a tourist attraction, was the old original jail. So I was thinking, after June 30th, maybe we can talk the county and county sheriff to let us conduct tours through our local jail here, maybe bring in some extra money. Anyway, it's a thought. The other thing that I noticed on the way down there, though, and I hadn't been down that way in at least 3 years, so I didn't know what had taken place. And it looks like our beloved Caltrans took a bad situation and made it worse. Now, I'm talking about the stretch of 395 between Kramer Junction and Adelano. They took out all of the passing lanes except for one big, long stretch down on the flatlands before you get to Adelano. They put in double yellow lines. And like, that's really going to stop anybody from passing? We stopped on the way back at the restaurant there in Kramer Junction, and I asked the waitress, how long you been working here? 15 years. I said, what'd they do to the highway up here? She says, yeah, I know. She said, I don't go that way anymore. And last Saturday, I guess, probably about maybe sometime around when my granddaughter was getting married, she said there was a terrible accident up there. So I'm thinking, even if we have a casino or whatever we have here in Ridgecrest, there are people that are not going to travel that highway. I've already talked to people right here in Ridgecrest that say they try to avoid it. I did not see that many cars coming up and down. And it is a dangerous highway, very dangerous now. So I think the city and maybe the Chamber of Commerce, and we've got a new board of directors, I see. I think we ought to take up a cause here and petition Caltrans to get their act together. It's definitely a worse situation than it was before. And I think it's worth looking into because a lot of our people travel up and down that highway. And we had problems before, but this was not the way to solve it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
They're going to fix it, Dave.
No, they did.
Yes, they did. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, please. You got it. You got it.
Okay. I don't want to get a step on any cue. Stan Rotora. I was at a water district meeting this week, last week, something like that. And it came up that the water district hasn't been approached yet regarding recycled water for the new wastewater treatment plant. They said they knew about the wastewater treatment plant, but nobody had actually contacted them. And I actually informed them where you lived here. And I'd like to tell you as well that they live on the corner of Ridgecrest Boulevard and Norma, in case anybody would like to talk to them about recycled water. One really important thing is they've got so much money, they make us look like paupers. We can't hold a candle to what they have in terms of funding. They've actually looked forward and they've got money for the future. So anyway, I would recommend that we actually talk to them. Who knows, we might come up with something that might be useful, and even if we don't, it can't hurt. So I'm recommending that the city actually talk to one of our neighbors and see if we can have some mutual benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I know that we have talked to the Water District both on that issue in the past, but it would not hurt to reconnect. And again, sir, did you want to say something?
No, that's true. I mean, our consultant has directly had discussions with the Water District, and they're very well aware of our proposed project, and it comes up in regular meetings I have with their general manager.
It also has come up at various meetings that we have been at together and separately. So yes, it's not like we're going like this. Well, perhaps they were looking for something more specific because we're still in the process of talking about it. So, but this isn't an item we can spend a lot of time on, sir. But yes, your point is well made and taken.
My name is Scott Leahy. First of all, I'd like to, I'll just let everybody here know, since we heard from Mr. Matthews, there was a news item today that Caltrans has put into effect the wheels to widen 395 to 4 lanes from the 15 all the way up to Kramer's Junction. Now, as far as I know, that doesn't include the Kern County stuff, so I haven't heard anything about that. But they are going to widen 395 up to Kramer's Junction, and they're also going to be working on the 58. So I don't have all of the stuff. I don't have the news article in front of me, but that is some good news. I read it with some degree of jubilation. I want to, I'm up here tonight basically just to say, now that things have calmed down, I want to thank this council, every one of you, for your hard work over the past 7 weeks now, I guess it's been. It was really a grind. I and my group of friends and fellow citizens, not only of Ridgecrest, but the entire valley, thank you for agreeing to the municipal services agreement. We think it's a good deal for our city. I understand that some people don't like it, and I understand their feelings, but there is I believe, a tremendous groundswell of support for this casino, and the more that people get to think about us basically partnering with the Timbisha tribe really is going to help our complete branding that we've been doing with our Petroglyph Festival, and with I think it's going to be a very good fit, and I'm very convinced that Chief Strand is on top of whatever it is we're going to need in order to mitigate problems of the increased. There's always population. More population means more crime. More transients means more crime. But I'm convinced that with the combination of a good security system in there and with our police department, our public safety people on top of it, we're going to have ourselves a real gem here, something that will attract customers, people to come and do business here and come see our lovely city. I want to announce we have decided that we're going to go ahead and our worthy opponents, whom I love. I mean, I love civic involvement. You're a pain in the rear, but I still love you. And anyway, you guys are out there working hard. I saw them out in the hot sun sitting out in front of Walmart trying to get petitions signed. A lot of people turning them down, too. But anyway, and carrying signs out there anyway. So we're going to be doing that also, I guess. I was just kind of thinking, heck with it, don't bother. But we have young and energetic people with us, and they want to get out and get petitions signed, so we'll get some signed too. Anyway, thank you all very much, and appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Council Mike Neal. I would just like to speak to the counter what Mr. Lay tries to claim, that the entire valley thanks this council for agreeing to the MSA agreement. He does not speak for me, and he does not speak for a whole lot of people in this town. I do not thank you for agreeing to that. I definitely do not thank you for agreeing to that. I think it's a very bad decision. Let me get to the real point, what I came up here for tonight, what you might expect. Mr. Matthews kind of reminded me of a little slogan, talking about 395, how many years it's gone on being Bloody Lane down there. Changing the road now, making it worse. Hey, we're from the government. We're here to help. Well, I guess some people could say that statement could be applied to Mr. Howard and his poor wife down on Mayo Street. They showed up and said, Mr. Howard, we want to do whatever we can to help you get your properties cleaned up. Well, they jolly well did. They took him to court, took him down both avenues of court they could possibly take him down. They couldn't win any cases against him, by the way. In the criminal cases where they had a jury, but they managed to slide it into civil court and get the judge to agree that, well, we don't have to go along with this gentleman's inviolate right to trial by a jury that's guaranteed in the California Constitution. We'll just have a hearing without a trial, without a jury, without any opportunity to confront its witnesses. So they did such, as you would expect. I've stated many times. They said, well, Mr. Howard, we're going to put your property into control of somebody else. It's still yours. You got to pay all the costs, but we're going to let this receiver firm rack up all kinds of costs, and then you're going to get to pay it. Well, after fighting you guys for forever, he didn't have any money left, so now what? Well, he gets yet another letter from the receiver group acting like that they're going to try to make some kind of concessions to him, even though the process was not acceptable to start with as far as taking over this quote-unquote loan on the property to get all this cleanup done. And so they re-emphasize one more time. If you're not out by June 21st, after that, we're going to send law enforcement and drag you out of your house. All I got to say to that is we like to give presentations around here. I don't know any reason that citizens can't give presentations and little awards. So I'm considering giving the City of Ridgecrest, City Police Department, anybody else involved in this, the Ridgecrest Black Heart Award for don't care, maybe even for could care less, because this never had to go this far. Everybody here knows that, but it is. Next week, you could have a homeless couple out on the street. Who knows? Why? All Mr. Maurer could bring up when he's actually here and wants to make comments is because Mr. Howard had peacocks on his property. Well, that's a really good reason to kick somebody out on the street, isn't it? It's a very sad thing. So while I'm up here and I got a little bit of time left, public documents talk about people who are responsible for helping cause this to happen. I didn't get back home tonight after coming out to get my notes, but I remember some of the names. Obviously, the Ridgecrest Police Department is the primary person involved in this. But there were also some neighbors Mr. Howard's involved. One of them is Mr. Larry Lewis, a great proponent of the casino. One of them is somebody named Tammy Motashard, who's a good neighbor who was willing to file an affidavit. But when he had a criminal case, nobody wanted to come and witness against him in open court. One was one of the realtors in town, Ashley Palomino, who's willing to state how all the houses in that whole half end of the town are reduced in value. And, of course, at present, we have Colwell Banker helping to tighten the noose on his neck and try to get the house sold out from under him. So I hope all these people are very proud of their involvement in this, because I find it to be the saddest event I've ever seen in this town in 35 years.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment?
Hello, Lindsay Stevens. Wasn't planning on talking on this topic tonight, but here we are. So since he brought it up, yes, we are petitioning to let the other side be heard, and we are planning to send our petition to state and federal officials. We have gathered over 600 signatures so far, so there is a portion of the community that is obviously not glad about the agreement. But what I would like to say is Exhibit C from the agreement was the waiver of the tribe's immunity from suit. And at the end of the last meeting, I spoke with Mr. Golson, the chairman, and asked them if they had voted this into effect yet, and they have not. And so I would just like to encourage the city to not make any further actions until we make sure that they waive their immunity. Because that's what allows us to take them to suit, and that's what helps to uphold the agreement. So I have copies of that for you too. And then I have some ideas on revenue, but I think I should talk about that during the budget part, and I just wanted to get a head nod on that. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Any other public comment?
Hi there, I'm Matthew Martin. So I think first, I wasn't going to speak, but since Ambassador for the casino, Mr. Leahy spoke, I think that I would follow up here. I think that this casino has been pushed so quickly. I'm sure you guys have heard it quite a bit. I actually am in Bakersfield now, but born and raised in Ridgecrest, and so it's very important to me that we do what's right for our community. And so first I want to thank Councilman Sanders. You've, from the beginning, sir, held the fire to the flame. And it's very easy when we get into economic shortfall to say, hey, what can we do? What can we do? And I understand it. We've got to find something. Our budget, we just saw it, it's $800,000, and the shortfall, I got it. But this is not the answer, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not the answer. When you look at the MSA that was passed, after the changes that were made, you know, it was not given to the council until just a little bit before the vote. I understand about an hour or two before. Section 10A and 10D, it talks about water. Our basin, as you guys are well aware of, we're 30% in overdraft right now, 30%. This is critical for us, okay? This is critical. You've got this pistachio issues, and that's on the county side. These pistachio farms in Inyakern, if we've stopped these guys from expanding, and yet at the same time to allow a casino to come in that could absolutely drill wells. It says very clearly that they may tap into city water, they may tap into city sewage. It doesn't guarantee it. It doesn't guarantee it. You've got casino in East San Diego County where this casino, I mean, these Indians have drilled 40 wells. That's absolutely devastating the basin. I'll email you guys all copies of this information. So what I would do is I would caution the fact that these folks do not take our water, and that we look at perhaps another avenue to get revenue to begin with. So I think, you know, for goodness sakes, it's taken us many, many years, right, to get the Super Walmart in. So Ridgecrest is a community that uses common sense, that uses, you know, a lot of research before we make a decision. We've got a ton of PhDs on the base there that want to get involved and make sure that we make the right decision. If it takes us 10, 15 years to get a Super Walmart, I don't understand why we've got to rush this casino in such a short amount of time. Councilman Thomas, I want to thank you, too, for making the right decision on this issue. Until we really look at it further, I think that's critical. I think everybody wants what's best for the community. It's just about how we get there. What's the solution to get to that point? And I'd like to talk to you guys a little more about, in the future here, about how we can make that happen. Because I can tell you on both sides of the story, it's very good that y'all amended to talk about litigation with the city, because you can guarantee that those things could be coming if we're not cautious, and we don't want that. So that's just my comment. Thank you guys for doing what you do, but I'd urge you to push hard, a little bit harder on this, and make sure that our water is protected for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? Okay. The next item is council announcements. Is there any council announcements?
I don't have any, Madam Mayor.
No, there are none. Consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine by city staff and will be approved in one motion if no member of the council or the public wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, that item may be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately with public comment before action is taken. Item number 2, proposed action to approve a resolution to award a construction contract to Griffith Company for the road realignment and widening of Drummond Avenue from Inyo Street to Down Street in the amount of $469,576 and authorize the city manager, Dennis Spear, to execute the contract. Number 3, proposed action to approve a resolution to order a construction contract to Griffith Company for the road rehabilitation and resurfacing of South China Lake Boulevard from Bowman Road to College Heights Boulevard in the amount of $457,366 and authorize the city manager, Dennis Spear, to execute the contract. Number 4, proposed action to approve the professional service agreement with the firm Wildan Engineering in the amount of $99,373,000 to provide construction management for the 2016 street improvement project and authorize the city manager, Dennis Spear, to execute the agreement. Number 5, proposed action to approve the professional services agreement with the firm Wildan Engineering in the amount of $56,396 to provide construction management for the Gateway Boulevard project and authorize the city manager, Dennis Spear, to execute the agreement. Number 6, proposed action to approve a resolution for the professional services agreement with the firm Wildan Engineering in the amount of $47,858 to provide construction management for the Ridgecrest Bike Path project and authorize the city manager, Dennis Spear, to execute the agreement. Number 7, proposed action to approve a letter of protest to Annabelle Cancer Center regarding the closure of the radiation therapy department, Ridgecrest office, and authorize staff to draft a letter for the mayor's signature. Is there anybody who would like to pull any of these items on the council?
Number 7.
Okay. Lori? Same.
Same, it was number
7. Okay, is there anybody on public who would like to have those items pulled? Number 3. Okay, any others? All right, then we will authorize an approval, motion for approval of item 2, 4, 5, and 6.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approve, 1 absent.
Okay, item number 2. I'm sorry, 3. Dave, Mr. Matthews, you asked that to be pulled?
Yes, ma'am. I seem to recall that we just resurfaced that section of roadway not too long ago. Am I wrong, or?
This is South China Lake Boulevard from Bowman to College Heights.
Yeah. Right in front of the old Walmart.
Yeah. It's not in real good shape.
I'm sorry?
This is South China Lake Boulevard.
Yeah.
From Bowman to College Heights.
Yeah. The Albertsons shopping center?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Didn't we just do that a couple of years ago?
No.
We did before
I thought
it.
we did something down there.
We've progressively done, I think, the entire street south of 178 now, except that particular section.
Well, okay.
Okay, any other comments on that particular item? Lindsay, do you want to?
Is Walmart helping at all with that section of roadway?
No, that's program money. That's coming from the FHWA.
Okay, I was just curious.
Okay. Is there any other council comment or public comment? Okay, motion to approve item number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Councilmember Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Breeden.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders.
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent.
Okay, item number 7.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to find out in reference to the contents of the letter.
I haven't seen the contents of the letter because the item is authorizing staff to draft the letter. But what we were asking is, because it is such and the only service that provides that radiation therapy in the city, in the local area, we were asking them to reconsider. I know why they're doing it, but I just wanted them to know how much they're going to be missed and how much it's needed. And that was why I asked for the item to be on the agenda.
I agree. I think it should be on the agenda. I was just trying to see if the contents of it.
I
or were
haven't
we
seen
gonna
the
use
contents.
that
We were
verbiage?
basically, I'm not going to draft the letter, I assume. I assume our staff is, because that's the authorization for staff to do that. But basically, to recognize the value they provided and wish they weren't going to be doing it elsewhere and not here.
Okay.
And the question that I had on the item is, and I thought it was coming from the full council, because I don't know which carries the more weight. Just the one letter from full council is the best way to do that, correct? Not individually from the council collective, just the one. Am I making sense?
I don't care if it's signed by the whole council, but I think it certainly carries more weight.
This is a minute motion, so the motion can be amended.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking is I just want to make sure that they understand it is
I
all
didn't
of
ask
us
for it
trying
to be
do.
signed by me, but
So, that's why I was asking. You've got our signatures, so.
if you'd like to change it to authorize council to do that, I'm happy with that.
I would like to stand behind the whole council signing it, me personally.
I feel the
Agreed.
same.
Okay. Is there any
Yeah,
public
I agree.
comment on that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So this is just the authorization to write the letter.
Right.
Is what this is. And then
That
I guess
staff
we're
is
going
going
to
to
see
write
this
the letter.
before we send it,
If we're
right?
going to sign it, then we will see it before we, please.
Yeah.
Mr. Matthews.
Yes, I am wholly in support of that. However, it's not entirely the medical facility's fault. It's Medicare's fault.
I understand.
So I think there maybe should be a copy also go to Medicare somewhere. I don't know where.
Good comment. We weren't are by no means blaming them. I'm sure it was a business decision. We just want them to know how needed their service is.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
I have a Brown Act concern. The letter hasn't been drafted, correct? So your staff's going to draft a letter, and then anyone from the city council who wants to sign it is going to sign it. What I would want to make sure happens is that the letter isn't edited by the city council members. I think that could run the risk of being essentially a public meeting. So you'll get a letter, you can sign it or not sign it.
Well, I think they're going to bring it back in a public meeting.
Oh, are you going to bring it at a subsequent meeting? Oh, all right, well, that's fine. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Motion then, if there's no other comment.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Breeden.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders.
Aye.
4 approve, 1 absent, and it will be brought back at the next meeting for review.
Okay. All right, public hearing. Mr. Spear, do you need me to read this whole thing, or?
I don't believe so, but
Okay.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, I believe we have with us Mr. Jim McGuire of Wildan that will be actually addressing both or presenting both public hearings, both the annexation with regard to the existing landscaping and lighting district and the the new drainage district and the formation thereof. Mr. McGuire.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm happy to be here this evening. My name is Jim McGuire. I'm with Wildan Financial. We're the assessment engineers for these two districts, one which we are annexing territory, tracks 6770 and 6775 into the existing landscape and lighting district. At the previous council meeting, you had adopted the engineer's report and declared a resolution of intention setting tonight for the public hearing. Ballots were mailed to the property owners that are subject to those assessments, and after we conduct the public hearing this evening, we'll close the public hearing and tabulate those ballots, and the results of those ballots will determine your next actions, whether you can adopt the resolution of formation or annexation and ordering the levy and collection of assessments. The same is true with the Drainage Benefit Assessment District. Same two tracks are involved. However, this also involves a portion of the existing landscape and lighting district area. All those properties will drain into the same basin and will benefit from the maintenance of that facility. And so the ballots for those, rather than being just the property owners involved, it also includes some residential property owners that are already there. But same process, we'll open the public hearing for it, and I believe if the city attorney is okay with it, you can open the public hearing for both at the same time, and take public testimony. After public testimony, you'll close the public hearing, and then we'll tabulate the ballots for either one or both, depending on how you proceed. And then after the results of the tabulation are completed, you will adopt the resolution declaring the results of the balloting regardless of whether it passes or fails. If it passes, then you can adopt the resolution forming the district and ordering the levy and collection of assessments. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Is there any council questions or comments? Do we want to do the public hearing before we make our comments?
It's up to you.
I'd like to see if there's any public that would like to speak regarding this. I assume if you are here now, you will speak.
Scott Leahy. Yes, I would just like to, if somebody could please clarify for us where this property is. The numbers are meaningless. So is there can we just give a street name and tell us where it's at?
This is the old Horton subdivision that's on the northwest corner of Kendall and College Heights Boulevard.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, is there any other public questions or comment?
Yes, Dave Matthews. I think I'm getting the picture here now, but I just want to verify. These are parcels that are not already in the existing landscaping and lighting districts that we have been holding other public hearings on prior to this. Is that correct? This is in addition to the same districts or what?
In the case of the lighting and landscaping district, that's correct. It's in addition to.
I didn't quite catch all that, please.
In the case of the lighting and landscaping district annexation, these are lots that are in addition to the existing lighting and landscaping district.
Okay. Then one of them is a drainage basin, is that correct?
That's the second public hearing, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Council comment?
No, I have none. Just thank you for coming down.
Lori? No?
No.
Okay. All right, well, we have had the first public hearing, so I will close the public hearing, and we will ask the city clerk and the consultant to open the ballots received and tally publicly.
You can move on to the other public hearing if you'd like while we're tabulating those ballots, and then come back to the item after we've
All right.
finished the tabulation.
Is that appropriate? All right, then we will skip over to the proposed action of number 9, and we will open that. I'm not going to read it all. If any of you don't have the agenda, do you need me to read the whole thing again? Okay, well then we will go to item 9. Mr. Spear, do you have anything you would like to say?
No, except that this is a new assessment district for drainage. I believe it's our first drainage district in town.
Okay, is there any council comment or public comment? I will open the public hearing. Any comments on the public hearing, please? I see none. Is there council comments?
Yeah, I had one question for staff. I think we discussed this before, but just to refresh my memory, is this the same? Where is this district at? Where is this?
This is on the same property.
Same property.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Dennis, I know it's in the same area, same property, except the question that I had on it was it doesn't include 2 of the parcels in one of the tracks over on Majestic Sky Court, if I read that correctly. And was there a reason for that? That was my only question. It seemed to read the same. I know it's our first one. It seemed to read the same, include the same area, except here, but does not include the residential parcels in 6740. But is there a reason that I'm missing?
That was my question also. So we go.
That I'm not sure of. Jim, I'd have to refer that to you.
My apologies, I missed the question.
It's on the drainage benefit assessment. It's the same area, except it's excluding some residential parcels in track 6740 on Majestic Sky Court.
Correct, because those particular parcels do not drain to the drainage basin. They actually, based on topography, they drain a different direction, so they receive no benefit from that particular drainage basin.
That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
That was my question, so thank you for asking. Is there any other public comment on that? Well, then we will defer to the tallying of the ballots on both of those items. Well, we can go to item number 10 if you'd like to. That is a proposed action to nominate and appoint a new member to the Planning Commission to fill the vacancy. Mrs. Ford, I see it's you, but I know.
Yeah, it's actually
Action. Okay, Lori?
So this is, last time we had a flood when we tried to fill this before. This time I had a bunch of people ask, and then relatively not so many applications. And I've talked with those who have applied, who's discussed it with me, who want to do it. And so if the council is okay with it, I would actually like to put Ms. Lindsay Stevens there.
Lindsay, would you like to say anything? You don't have to. I mean, this isn't normal, but if you'd like to, the rest of the council would like to hear anything you have to say to us regarding this. No, if you want to, I was just offering you the opportunity. If you don't, that's fine. I know Mrs. Acton must have some really good reasons why she appointed you, and we know what a great person you are, so would you like to?
No.
Okay. All right. We're going to crown you St. Lindsay.
I'm in a hurry.
Okay.
I want to get done. No,
Okay.
I'm kidding. No, it really boils down to, talking with Ms. Stevens and about more than just because when you're on the planning commission, it's not personal, number one, but you're looking at the benefit of the city, and we talked about that and how she has made this her home with her husband and her family, and the things that she is looking towards as she raises her family here, and some of the things she sees, and it's kind of an outsider's point of view, and I don't mean it as you're an outsider, but coming in and looking. I think it'll lend some perspective that we don't already have or that we could use. And I actually think it'll be a good fit. And so it seemed like the most logical decision to me, so that's what I did.
Good. So you are making that nomination. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. And we have a minute motion confirming the nomination to Planning Commission. That was it?
Yeah, that was it. Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent.
Okay. Are you ready, sir? Because the next item is going to be probably a little bit longer than a couple of minutes. You say go on, or you're... Okay, the next item is the budget hearing discussion and proposed action to approve a resolution of the City Council of Ridgecrest and the successor agency to the Ridgecrest Redevelopment Agency adopting the annual budget for fiscal year 2016-17, establishing appropriations, estimating revenues, and establishing the policies for which the budget shall be amended. Ty, did you want to talk about that?
We've already had several meetings on this. What we have tonight are, in fact, 2 items. One is the approval of the budget as is or as amended by council. The second would be a continuing resolution in the event that we're not ready to pass this and we need a little more time. And so, other than that, I'm not sure what else to say.
I think at the meeting last night, Councilwoman Acton was not there, but we discussed and felt we were not ready, and we're going to make the motion to approve a continuing resolution to go on as we are right now and still discuss it in the future. I don't know if anybody wants to make that motion, or do you want to discuss anything further?
I'm fine to make the motion, but there is something I would like to discuss because I know that the council, those who were here last night, got to go through some of it. However, because of my job, I did not. By chance, do you have it handy anywhere? The chart, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had asked for that because we didn't have it in our packet or anywhere.
Can we put it?
Yeah, we can also put that up on the screen if you'd like.
That was my next question.
I told Gary to be ready with it.
There we go.
Ty, would you
want me to
address
walk
that?
through it again?
Please.
Sure. The top line that you see there, the negative $819,434, is our operating deficit, our expenditures over revenue. And I just kind of worked back. I have the items listed. These are the changes that came about between this current fiscal year and next fiscal year. The first one being the self-insurance catch-up. We have not been setting aside enough money to fully fund our self-insurance fund. We anticipate the additional amount would be the $400,000. So that item is included in there, and that's a one-time item. The second would be the permits, the county permits. They finally caught up to billing us. That's $200,000. Once again, one-time item. If you were to take out those one-time items, that would leave you to the right of the permits one time of an operating deficit of $220,000 essentially. The other impacts that will be ongoing are impacts with the jail. The jail closing has caused us to have alternative plans, and so that's a $200,000 cost. The Department of Finance ROPS denials, so that's an ongoing $250,000 cost. The California Solar Initiative, this was a rebate we received for our solar field. That has come to an end. That was giving us about $120,000 a year. The transit funding to be able to make up our fare box ratio, that's a $60,000 cost. And on a positive note, we're no longer paying back an overpayment of property tax that we received. So that was a positive $292,000 that will be ongoing. So just if you look at, like I said before, if you look at the non-one-time, the ongoing impacts, if you take out the one-time only, it's an operating deficit of $220,000.
Well, Ty, what was the last one again? Refund of property tax overpayment. Ongoing. That's what
That was the withholding
with the
for 3
county.
years, but-
Right, they overpaid us about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and this was the
Yeah.
3-year payback.
This is the last year of that?
Yes.
So technically, that's a one-time as well.
Well, no, because
No.
now going on, we will be
We'll continue to
receiving
receive
that
it.
$292,000.
So this is the first year we're receiving
Well,
this.
this coming year.
No. Right.
This coming year. Yeah.
Right.
This next fiscal. Oh, okay.
If I understand this correctly, then if in years past, because we didn't have the shelf insurance, easy for me to say, self-insurance short term and the permits, right, because those are one time, really our shortfall, the biggest impact to that is the jail and having to hire for that, correct?
Or the DOF denials at $250,000.
Pretty big.
Yeah. Okay.
And then just to comment, that self-insurance isn't a payment we make. We're behind on our reserve, so we're taking money from the general fund to put in a reserve fund, so that the state's aware that we actually are meeting our obligations as far as the reserve.
Yeah.
So we're paying ourselves.
Yeah, I do understand that how that works. I understand the insurance. Okay, I just need to think.
Ty, can you tell me again, how did we get the permit one-time fee? How did that come about?
When we receive, when someone comes in to file a permit for the county, or I believe even some of the city that we have the county do the inspections on, we receive the money here, and then the county bills us for those services. It's been about 4 years since they billed us. So we've had that money in fund balance, but we haven't been paying it out. With the impacts of their budget now, we're receiving those invoices for payment. And so we wanted to make sure we allocated money to pay for those permits out of the fund balance.
Thank you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to make some quick comments. Some big aha things that I came away with this chart was, so from my perspective is, I'm very much against passing a deficit budget, but the $400,000, I don't consider that an actual deficit because we're just paying ourselves. It's going from one fund to another fund. So I'm good with not counting that in my mind towards an actual deficit because I don't think it is. The permits as well, I'm good with not counting that again in my mind towards a deficit because we've been incurring we've been accruing, is that the correct term? We've been accruing all those, or we've been collecting all those, receiving all those fees, and they've been sitting in the, and they've been collecting into the account. And I remembered, now that we talked about this afternoon, I remembered back to a previous budget that we had discussed where we'd talked about that, and I completely forgotten about that until now. And we said, I can't believe they haven't collected it yet. Let's make sure we don't spend that money in case someday they do come collect it. And so now they're finally coming in and collecting it. And that's good because and that's not overspending, right? Because had they come and collected it in the years that it was paid, that would have balanced out to nothing. So, but still, that leaves me, in my mind, with a $219,000 deficit. Now, $200,000 of that is the impacts for the jail, hiring the 2 community service officers. I think we still need to look at making some cuts to make up for that, because I'm still not okay with the $220,000 deficit. Not sure what more to say about that.
I think that's why we talked yesterday, that we wanted to look at this some more and see what can be done, because I'm uncomfortable doing that as well. And if it can be dealt with a positive outcome, I don't want to say we're going to go $220,000. Now, we recognize that there are other items that are coming in next budget, and we know that will mitigate those expenditures. But even knowing that, I want to be very, very sure that we understand what the impact of a $220,000 deficit is, so we can talk about it, understand it more fully, and discuss it as a council with the public again one more time. And that's why I'm going to propose that we approve the continuing resolution, that we look at it, and we still want to pay our bills, we still want to keep the city going, we understand it needs to be done, and that's how I'm going to ask that we do that. And we aren't ready to make a decision.
So clarification, at the next budget hearing, though, you would like to see a reduction of $220,000. I mean, tonight we're going to approve a continuing resolution, but you would like to see a balanced, I won't say balanced budget, but a budget brought back that further reduces expenditures by $220,000.
We want to look at that with the impact of what those are.
Sure.
And given the idea of the monies that are coming in that are extraordinary one-time monies for this next budget, next year. And I want to understand what the impact of doing that is. I know what the impact when I do it on my own bank account, but I don't know what the impact on the city is. And I'd like to have that explained more fully. And I think the rest of it, at least from what we said last night, without Councilwoman Acton here, we wanted to see that too. And so we're not ready to say, cut the budget and throw everybody out of work, but we are saying, let's look at this and see what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Is there any other council comment on that?
I agree, because I'd like to know where we can take that if we need to cut that, if there's something else we can do. I don't know if we have some unfunded positions in the budget that we can absolutely hold off on, that would stave that off. Or if we're looking at something else, I know that some of the options that we've discussed is going out to bid on transit. ROPS is so weird as it is, and I know there's stuff always going on in there, so I would just like to see staff give us at least a couple of ideas if you can. As painful as this can be, and then I'd like to talk about some of the solutions that we definitely know we need to look at going forward with economic development and some of the other things that we've got to move forward with to start working on the revenue side, but I don't want to pass it with deficit if we can help it.
Well, clearly, I think we're revenue deficient, and we've cut to the bone. There clearly is. I believe our staff and our both Ty and Dennis have done the cuts that they can conceive to do, and that staff has brought back to them. I don't want to lay people off. I don't want to cut services. I want us to look what we can either postpone or enhance our revenue enough to do that. That's not going to be done immediately, I know that. But I want us to look at it. I think it's our responsibility to come back to the public with a balanced budget as best we can. Is there any other council comment? Public comment, please.
Hi, my name's Margaret Martin, and I live at 1522 West Valspar here in Ridgecrest. I'm a county employee, and as you know, we've at the county have been walking the same path. I'm a public health nurse here, and when I came here as a public health nurse, we had 3 nurses here locally. They had one in Tehachapi, one in Lake Isabella. This is all for East Kern. We had one in Mojave. And our Board of Supervisors held us to the fire as employees of Kern County. We went without raises. I have been, upwards of 8, 9 years without a raise as a public health nurse. We have lost staff. I am the only public health nurse you guys have here. When I retire, I'm not sure you're going to get another one. You may be without. Same true in Mojave. So in Kern County, the Board of Supervisors has gone to every department and asked for huge cuts, even when we were cut past the bone, Madam Mayor. And I, as a member of this community, would ask that you guys do the same. We are suffering in Kern County, as all of us living here. We're suffering, I can tell you, as employees of Kern County. And I want to look to every town in our county to do the same. And I really would respect my city if I know extra, okay? If I know you guys are doing the same. Thank you.
That's what we are doing, or we intend to do, is we have to present a balanced budget.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, but you said try to.
Well,
and I don't.
Ma'am, if I could just comment, we've lost 42 people, 42 full-time employees, which is over 25% of our employees in the last 4 years. Our budget is down $4 million from what it was pre-dissolution of the RDA. So as far as our being top-heavy, of the 6 per our municipal code, there are 6 department heads. There's only 2 of those positions that are filled.
Okay. Well,
and before we ever brought the budget to the council, our departments were asked to make reductions, and they've been asked to make reductions twice based on what they had proposed in their budgets. Before this budget ever came to the council, they'd already cut $1 million from their budget.
And
$1 million doesn't sound significant to the $2.3 million county budget, I realize, but it's significant to our budget when we only have a $12 million budget.
I appreciate, and I know we're all suffering. When I look at, and I know, I've been very sad that Kern County is getting rid of the jail here. I've toured that jail. I've done where I've had to go do surveys there. Okay, I understand that. But, and I know our city is having to take the brunt of that, and I feel horrible about that. But for $200,000, you said is two staff positions, 2 officers, I don't know. That seems a bit high. And we all know that there, I read the paper, salaries are high in our town and amongst the city. So there's other ways that we can look at how rather than cutting services to our community, I think we can find that $200,000 rather than cutting services in our community,
And one other comment, the employees here at the city have not seen a cost of living raise since 2008.
Okay, same with the county, but probably longer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stan Rotora. I would just like to ask for 3 pieces of information when we start talking about the budget again. I know we're revenue poor. We all know that. I mean, we're not just revenue poor. I mean, we're paupers. Let's face it. what I didn't hear, what I would have liked to have heard was more information during the budget discussion on what are we going to do to get out of the hole we're in. We talk every year about how poor we are, and that's certainly true. I mean, nobody knows more in this town than me, quite frankly, of where we don't have money. Because we don't have money everywhere. I mean, that's really the bottom line. But after saying that, what we need to do is to figure out, okay, what do we do about it? Let's stop worrying about it. Let's actually set out with a plan and a schedule. Figure out what we're going to do, because we can't keep doing this year after year. I mean, every year, it seems like it's getting worse, quite frankly. I don't see it getting any better at all. So I would like to see some more presentation, more information on, okay, here we are, and, you know, where are we going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, and are we going to be out of the hole we're in? Because we need to get out. I think the citizens deserve that. So more information on that. Second thing is there was another transfer fund that we didn't get any information on. I believe it's 110, but I wouldn't swear to it. There was a lot of money being transferred to it out of some of the funds into another fund. And there's at least, I think I was here at the whole time for all the hearings. I didn't hear anything regarding what the money was going to be used for, how specifically how it was allocated to be spent and how it was allocated to be pulled out.
110 is our self-insurance fund.
Self-insured. Is that the one that has like $800,000 or $900,000 from the general fund, and then the sum of 2, 3, and 5 are
yes,
it's the one that we're transferring
$440,000 additional.
Yeah, if we could have more information about how that was allocated or how it was calculated to be transferred, that kind of thing. Third thing.
Wait a minute, if you would please.
Mr. Rotora, that fund goes to fund our workers' compensation. Much of the information that we could possibly provide would be considered confidential.
I'm not interested in as much where the money is going as how it was calculated to be taken out of what funds. I'm not asking for anything confidential. I want to know how was determined how much money was taken out of Fund X, Fund Y, Fund Z. I don't, in this particular case, I don't have to know where it's being paid. I'm really more interested in how was it calculated, which funds paid how much in.
Are you talking about the funding going into the self-insurance fund?
Yes, yes. And in item 3, I had a very short discussion with Mr. Staley at the end of the last meeting and found out that we're handling capital expenses as far as the administrative overhead the same way we're handling other expenses. And I thought, quite frankly, we had changed that 6 or 8 years ago in that any fund that actually has a lot of capital expenses gets penalized, is my opinion anyway. I haven't seen any data that would say that it isn't. In tonight's, in particular, tonight we had an item on the consent calendar, item 2, 3, 4, and 5, coming up with a little over $1.2 million. And if I understand what I think Mr. Staley told me, is there'd be over $150,000 taken out of the road fund and transferred to the general fund just for letting those contracts, and I suspect paying out a few monthly bills, invoices, that kind of thing. Am I correct in that?
No, in our capital improvement projects, no, those are not charged in overhead.
They aren't charged in overhead. Okay. Okay, let me ask as a question then, because obviously I don't know what I'm talking about. By the way, I was told you folks hadn't talked to the water company. Anyway, getting back to this, what capital procurements are assessed an overhead of 15%?
I guess I don't understand. Our
Let's
capital improvement projects are not
none of them.
assessed an
Okay,
overhead.
what about the contracts that are let from the wastewater fund for doing any of the design work on the wastewater system?
That was pulled out of the calculation as well.
Well, I understand it was pulled out of calculation, but if they were let, and I think that was the issue, is we're not sure we're going to let those contracts yet, but if those contracts were let, would there be a 15% surcharge going into the general fund?
No, it's based on the numbers as I showed you the other night.
Okay, based on the number you showed me, that's good. I like that. Now, can you tell me what types of payments, expenses are charged 15%?
Operational.
Only
Programmatic.
like salaries
Absolutely.
and that kind of thing.
Salaries,
Okay.
materials.
Materials, okay, but no
Services.
contracts, no consulting fee contracts,
No,
none of
nothing,
that stuff.
Nothing that's capitalized.
Nothing that's capitalized. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so there's still more, okay?
Excuse me.
Yes, Council. Mike Neal. This question for Mr. Spear. This is a kind of possibly it's kind of a small thing, but since we're scratching for pennies here, I seem to recall a question that I had looking at the expenditures lists some years back, questioning why we were paying property taxes to Inyo County, and I believe your answer was that we own about 160 acres up close to Pearsonville somewhere. Do we still own that, or are we still paying property tax on that property?
We still own it, we're still paying taxes.
Okay, I would question the continued ownership of those properties. That's costing us every year. I think it's on, that seems like a lot, several $1,000s. But the properties may be worth something, and it's always been confusing to me why we owned it to start with and why we haven't sold it off.
Well, a good portion of that property was actually used for redevelopment projects and other city projects in past years to mitigate environmental impacts on those projects.
So there was a land swap of some form for development
correct.
inside the city? Okay, so is there some statute that says we have to continue owning that property in perpetuity?
For the portions that satisfy the mitigation requirements, yes.
Okay, but not all of it?
But like I said, it's my understanding that's a large portion of the property. Have to get out the past documents to parcel out to figure out how much is it. I mean, that's remaining that isn't part of mitigation. But for future mitigation, it's a parcel that we could look to be able to provide and meet those requirements.
Okay. Well, I guess my suggestions as far as looking at that still stands as far as if we can divest ourselves of that, be a one-time income to the city. So, this is what you do when you're in bad shape. The next one is another suggestion now.
Mr. Neal, may I ask a question in there?
Sure.
On that same subject? If it's used as property to mitigate development that's already been developed, we wouldn't be able to sell that property because it's mitigation property. Is that correct?
That's correct, except that I believe instead of the 160 acres, I believe it's 640 acres. And a large portion of that has been used to mitigate past projects. But at the last discussion on this several years ago, there is still property that is not part of the acreage that's required for mitigation of those past projects.
Do we anticipate the possibility that it may be needed to mitigate other projects in the future?
That's true.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Neal.
That's fine. That's fine. Trying to get clarity on that. Okay. Another suggestion. Now, try to just take a second and put your mind in a state to not be shocked by a new idea here. If you look at the budget, you could almost say that this is not the city of Ridgecrest. This is the Ridgecrest Police Department. They spend, I believe, it's almost exactly half or maybe more of the expenditures in this city. The idea was floated a long time ago. I'm going to bring it back up. That's such a huge part of our expenditures that we go do some research, ask some questions, get some figures, and see if we cannot save some money by contracting out law enforcement services within the city to the county sheriff's department. Most of L.A. County is policed by the L.A. County Sheriff's Department. That's only 6 or 7 million people. They seem to do fine without a bunch of individual police departments. It's quite possible that a lot of existing overhead, even certain positions, would not be necessary. In the police department, if you eliminate one position, it's $100,000, $200,000, depending on who's throwing the numbers out there. So I hope that we could be objective in our situation and consider this. And if it's not cost effective, then it's not cost effective. But let's look at it and not just say, well, chief, you go look at that. Well, he's going to protect his department, so you're going to have somebody that's actually objective to take a look at this, and possibly not even just somebody within the sheriff's department, because they're going to protect their buddies in the Ridgecrest Police Department. Have to be honest here. So the looking needs to be done by someone who doesn't have a foot in either pond, and they can say, here's what your police department's costing you. Here's what the sheriff's department possibly could do it for within a reasonable window of error here. And can you save money or can you not save money? Okay, when you're trying to cut your expenditures and save some money, you really should look at where you're spending the biggest chunk of your money to start with, and see if you can't reduce expenditures along that avenue, because that's your biggest percentage, and this is by far the biggest expenditure, percentage in the city. So that's my suggestion.
When I asked that question, I believe it was last year or the last year, I was told we had done that some years past. Is that, or am I remembering something incorrectly, Chief or Mr. Spear? Had we done that?
Not as my time as chief, but they may have looked at it in previous years.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll make a comment after public comment.
Bill Campbell, 976 Roosevelt. I was looking the budget over, and I printed out 17 or 18 pages on my computer, but second page of the budget that went back to 2010 didn't make sense to me. They said the city transferred $592 over to the street fund. So you guys, that was on page 4, I believe. Now, another thing I would suggest is no one signs anything, and they should date something. And maybe at this many pages, you should put page numbers. Anyway, that's pretty simple.
I've got pages on mine, sir.
It's one that says transfer to streets. I think it was page 4 on my computer it came out. Yeah.
Oh,
first,
okay. So that's where it is.
I brought it up to date and on my computer, and it was the same thing. So did something happen? I went in the city.
That wasn't the budget. That was the third quarter true-up.
No, it didn't make sense. But anyway, last year the hospital paid $740,000 to the city for the property across the street from them. Is that true? or around that number, I'm sorry.
No, that's this year, 751,000.
Okay. Did you put, what fund did that go into?
That's in the general fund reserve.
General fund reserve. Okay, now, the 60,000 you took out of the senior center, you put back into the senior center to make it 150,000 again. I was down here almost 4 years now ago when we tried to get that money for the senior center. The senior center needed a new roof and improvements on the kitchen. So far, I haven't seen any money spent. 3.5 years. And what does that rotate over to another fund that you just have to put $60,000 back from the property we sold? What would happen if we didn't sell that property? Do we get my $60,000 back at the senior center? Just a question. It doesn't make sense to me to do things like that because it gets really mixed up in the.
But now you're talking about different sources of funding. The senior center project is all from HUD. It's a CDBG project.
I'm sorry, you got to speak up.
We can't mix funds. The senior center project is from HUD grants from CDBG, and the problem was there wasn't enough money that was actually available after there was analysis on the work that was proposed. So we went back to CDBG to get additional monies, which we have now, and the time frame between them approving the application and for us to actually build the project is on the average 3 years.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about Major L while I'm up here. When I voted for Major L, I was thinking, and I did vote for it, the police department said he needed 6 or 7 more guys, and he did it on the budget. He said, that's the way I cut my budget, that way. Okay, since then, we have a lot more policemen that went over, and then I hear on the budget, the one I have, it says they're $300,000, I'm sorry, big numbers, that is going to go to help, off of L to help the police department. Is that still going on?
Yeah, for the current budget, we used an additional $300,000 from rollover Measure L to continue funding 3 officers.
Okay, if I knew the way the city was going to handle this L money, I would have never voted for it. I said, give them a chance. And I did give you a chance, and you didn't handle the money well. And now we're coming up to a vote again on this L again, or maybe something else maybe. It doesn't, I mean, the city has to do something to help the city. In other words, we can't keep leaning on L, or the next time people will say, well, that's all they're doing is leaning on the extra money that we're giving you. I mean, it's just a suggestion. I think the city, and what I hear about what you guys are doing, I'm up front with that. I think that's great, taking a lot more time. So, and the mayor's, we had a person up here, I was watching a person, and he said, oh, our budget's great. And the mayor asked him, how come we have so much trouble with it then? I don't know if you remember that. The mayor said that. I don't know if you remember that. There was a guy come up and checked our books.
Yes. Yeah. Can I ask you a question before you go away? Because I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying in regards to Measure L. Because I caught up with you on the rest, on the CDBG. You understand the senior center is going to be done. That's community development block grant is what those initials are. But on the Measure L, we're doing what we're supposed to and what we promised the public we would do with the money. And what you're looking at is the third quarter financial, which is where we're bringing it to show, and then we have the proposed budget as well. But I'm a little confused when you say we're not doing what we're supposed to, because we actually are doing exactly what we said we were going to do. So I'm not understanding something. Can you help me understand?
I didn't either, sir. I was going to ask.
2011, they took something about the streets, and they said our streets were poor, are very poor, 80%. That's another reason I voted for Al, and I'm for the police department. I'm not doing anything like that, but if we want something else, we're going to have to define it better next time, for me anyway, to vote for that again.
But to make
So
sure
I
money,
just something to say.
but it is going exactly to police and streets. It's not going anywhere else. So I don't understand what you think we're doing wrong with it. I'm still not understanding. We've only used it for exactly what we said.
Roads
It
and
is.
police.
It is.
That's
That's
the way
all
it
it's
was sold.
done, sir.
That's the way it was sold.
And that's all
where
it's done. That's
going.
where it's going. It hasn't gone anywhere else.
Okay, I'm not going to argue about it, but the L committee got up here and said the city didn't spend any money for 3 years. That was the first L committee. And they said they didn't spend hardly any money on streets for 3 years. So, I mean,
that's not-
all I'm saying is that I don't
That's
think
not
it's
true,
been handled
sir.
right.
And the money was there when we were waiting on grant funds, so we held the money in the account until we could use it to triple it with the grant funds, a portion of it. But we used it for that purpose. It was not that it wasn't being used, we just maximized it.
Measure L is the committee report is going to be, is it next meeting? The measure.
I believe it's the 20th, actually.
Okay, then it's the second, the committee's report. They're finishing up their final report on last year.
Oh, you're talking about Measure L
Measure L
committee.
report.
Oh, I thought you meant the consultant.
No, the report they're gonna bring
No, the report
back.
is coming on the 6th, yes.
Okay, the next meeting, Measure L will give us their report on how we did last year, what we
Well,
did.
you better to have the city people want to vote for helping the city again. That's what we voted for, to help the city. You know, it's your guys' job to make sure that money goes right, so I voted for all you guys up there. So I
We-
can't say, I made a mistake, but,
Sir, what we would ask, and I don't want to contradict what you're asking, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Measure L is only spent on police and roads. It can't be spent elsewhere. Sometimes it's held, as Councilwoman Acton said, to make grants available so we could get 2 for 1 or 1 for 2 or whatever the actual matching funds are. But Measure L has spent a whole year, the committee has spent a whole year going over the expenditures that were made for streets and roads, and they're going to come back. I don't know what their report is going to be. I'm looking forward to it, I think, almost as much as you are going to be, because I want to know, did we do it right? They're going to tell us.
Thank
And
you.
I hope you'll be here and listen to what they have to say and ask good questions, because it makes us all look and say, did we do that right? I think we did, but let me make sure. Please
Okay.
be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, other public comment.
Okay, so I was here briefly for one of the budget meetings, and I read some of the articles, and I thought to myself, okay, we need to look for new sources of revenue, obviously. And people aren't generally big fans of taxes, so I started doing my research that I like to do, and I came up with several ideas for the city. One of them, I gave you 3 different sheets, make sure everyone gets one. There's one called Police Department New Revenue Streams, and I found this article it was from a magazine called The Police Chief, and it was entitled Generating New Revenue Streams. And this group of field experts went through in West Covina, and they came up with, I don't know, I didn't count them, but 10 to 20 ideas of fees to increase for police department revenues, things like fees for sex offenders, fine increases, like looking at the fee schedule, making sure that we're maximizing that, possibly increasing DUI fees. Also, they had put in a few things into effect, like the fees for citing noise violations and for children who do graffiti, putting a fine on the families of the children who caused the graffiti, because that's expensive. Like what happened to our new Walmart building? Someone spray painted all over the side of that building. But anyways, I just found this article, and I thought that might be useful to pass on for maybe the police chief to take a look at too, to see if any of those might be ideas of ways for the police department to do new revenue. Another idea I had, this one with the little kids playing. So in the city that I came from before I moved here, called Mission, Kansas, they used their community center during the winter. They would open it up and have indoor playground time because there it's really cold. But my idea is here, we should do it during the summer because it's blazing hot and there's nowhere to take your small children. McDonald's play place is outdoors. The playgrounds don't have a lot of shade. And what they do is they open up the gymnasium. They tote in a bunch of those like little Fred Flintstone, little Tykes cars and some tunnels and things. And they charge different cities, depending on what they have to offer, anywhere between $1 and $5 per visit. I would suggest we would be on the low end of that. They offer a punch card, and there's already an employee at the Kerr-McGee, so all he would have to do is punch a card. The gym's already open, and a lot of the equipment's already available because there's a preschool program there. And generally, they do it a couple hours per session, a couple times per week. I also think the liability coverage is already there because the preschool and just the nature of the center. And I think it would also be good advertisement for the programs that are already offered there. Like I know during the summer there's lots of camps and craft times and stuff. So if moms are coming in with their kids to do the playground time, then they might see some of those other classes that are available and more people might sign up for them. So that was one of my other ideas. Then also when I was researching, I came across some articles and then I realized it was put out by a firm. They do revenue, and they're called Revenue and Expense Specialists. This one happens to be located in Carolinas. I don't know if there's one in California. But what I thought was neat about this company that I saw is they don't accept compensation until the city sees benefits. So what they do is they go in and review the expenses, and they also come up with potential sources of revenue. And so until the city sees benefits from those expenses being cut or revenues being increased, they don't pay. So I included the information there for them, and if we could find one, I don't know if that firm does it in California, but if there's one here that we could look into, it seems like we could possibly greatly benefit from some sort of analysis like that. So, does
Thank
anyone
you,
have
Lindsay.
questions or anything?
Mr. Patton, could you address some of the, you are aware of the programs that are already offered at the Parks and Rec Department at the Kerr-McGee Center, is that correct? Mr. Patton, could you address some of those things that are being done, or would you like to talk to her at another point in time, however you want to do it? I like the ideas, and some of them may be absolutely wonderful to look at and see if we can use them here.
Whatever you like, Mrs. Mayor.
I can give you
Why
my
don't you
sheet,
two
and I'll give
talk,
him the other one.
And
Yeah.
that way, so we can get back to this part of the public hearing we were having.
Right.
But I really appreciate the ideas. Anybody who can help us secure more revenue, it is definitely needed. We are revenue challenged. And we want the services and the revenue, that's for sure, to be able to give back to our people.
Thank you, Lindsay. And Jason, some of these were really just because I know we're trying to get to net zero over there and we're almost there, but a couple of the ideas might actually be completely feasible and doable, and then some of them may not. But I would really like to maybe even convene our committee to look at some of them if they are viable.
Thank you.
It's a good point.
That just spurred another question I had in my mind about revenue for the city. And this is also related to another Public Records Act request that I put in that I've only received just very partial information on. So it seems like there's kind of a problem to me getting this information lately. However, I was here for the original meetings about 2 years ago where we spent basically over $2 million to give grant funding to, I believe, 5 different companies. And if I remember correctly, there's supposed to be some incremental funding paid out. There's supposed to be some proof of performance from the cities and some other incremental funding paid out. I don't recall, as of yet, seeing any of those reports from any of those companies. They all, or not all, but at least 2 that I recall, possibly 3, came into this game with the promise of bringing lots of jobs to the town, lots of, increased revenue and so forth. And we've seen nothing since that time. So the question would be, like, it pertains to Protexa. Let's see, what was the other one? The drone company, whatever their new name is, Monarch USA, so forth and so on. Have those companies produced anything towards the line of creating any business and creating any revenue to the city after us shelling out all this money?
Please.
We are in the process of reminding with second requests for responses from those companies because they owe us a report. And in fact, Monarch has complied. They have presented their information. Protexa and the EDH, I think they call it. EH they have not yet responded, but I know that EH has, in fact, met with our economic development manager very recently.
Okay, and see, and that's some of the information I asked for was money's paid out to these companies because, like I said, I believe that they were not supposed to get all of it at one time. It's supposed to show that they were meeting milestones and then get paid some more, but I can't know that because the staff will not provide me the information. It doesn't appear that council knows this either, and yet we're over 2 years into these things. As I thought that the time frames are supposed to be like 1 year, and they see if they perform and then they get some more money, and yet here we are, and obviously we don't know. And so what did we get for our $2 million? Well, unfortunately, the best you could say at this point in time is we got nothing. And that seems to be a large waste of badly needed funds around here and, might give us cause to rethink handing out monies like this that we could use. $2 million would fix a lot of streets that we still badly need being fixed. And if the companies are just going to take the money, not perform, and then run, then that's a pretty bad deal overall.
So, just to comment on that, we don't know about EH Group and WIDA hasn't been doing great, but one thing that has come out that's really awesome with Monarch in particular is they've opened up their whole shop and they've made it into a maker space where anybody from the community can come with a membership to use a lot of that equipment that was bought with the city funds. I think it's an awesome thing for the community, and it's turned in. It wasn't planned that way, but it turned into an incredible resource for a lot of people in the community. So.
They had an open house last week.
Open research kind of opportunity. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So if you wanted, like for hobby or for a small business, whatever, I don't know, if you wanted to use some of the equipment in their shop area, you pay a small membership fee and it really is very reasonable. And then you have access to all that equipment, including, high precision 3D printers and CNC mills and things like that. It really is a really cool resource for the community. So, I haven't seen the reports on what the cost, the benefit to what that cost was, and I'm sure we will see that. But you can't say nothing has come out of it. It's been we have some businesses in town that weren't here before.
My statement was based on promises made, which were jobs created, and I'm just saying all we know is that we get nothing out of it because we got no information from them, and we were supposed to get that information. So, when I'm working in my engineering job for over 30 years, and you're supposed to get information, and you get nothing, you have to assume the guy's giving you nothing because he did nothing. So, and put up or shut up, more or less, So we spent $2 million. I would be highly interested to know, has there even been 5 new jobs created by these companies in this town for our $2 million? If more, great. If not, we need to rethink that whole process before we ever do it again.
Thank you.
Tom Wicknick, address on file. So I wasn't going to ask a question about this, but since you just brought it up, Mr. Sanders, so are you saying that they do it through a grant from us meaning the city of Ridgecrest, they purchased equipment that they are now charging people to come in and use?
It's pretty nominal. I mean, again, I'm not speaking for Monarch. I have no affiliation with Monarch at all. But, I mean, really, you look at what that fee is, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but really, I can't imagine that covering anything more than operational costs and maintenance for some of the equipment. They're not making a killing by doing that. It's really a service to the community.
And I do believe they have given us a report, have they not, Mr. Parsons?
That's correct.
Can we get a report on the reports that I've either we received or have not received, and where we are in that in the near future? Sir?
I don't see why we can't.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I would still question the fact that if we invest in our Kerr-McGee Center and we have facilities and we charge people to use it, we get the money. If we have given somebody else money to do something and now they're using that money to make money for themselves and we're not getting a dime of it, I don't quite follow that logic.
That was never the intention of the grant for them to open up a makerspace. They did that, I mean, it really was a service to the community, and they never had to do any of that. That wasn't a part of the grant at all. I'm just highlighting that as a benefit to the community that happened to come from the grants.
I think what he's trying to say is it's like a sideline. It's like an unexpected, oh, hey, this is just another feel-good. In addition to, they're doing what they need to do, I'm assuming, and I don't know. But this was just a bonus benefit, if you will, that came out of that because it's very popular to do. But I don't think what you're asking is a little bit more like, are they violating? Are they not doing the other things? Those types of things. And that's not what Councilman Sanders was trying to say, or I don't think anybody's trying to say. It's just kind of a sideline bonus. I don't know any other way to say it other than that. An unexpected, kind of like when Protexo worked with the high school to help build the robots. You know, they worked with all of our students over there in the labs. So
that wasn't part of the agreement, but they did it.
Right. It just was more community involvement in a different way, unexpected way that we hadn't planned on.
Okay, but I'm pinpointing a capital expenditure, and I'm only asking questions here because this just came up. Okay, so I don't understand. But we provided money for a capital expenditure for equipment that they are now using to make money on through a different revenue stream.
It was always the intention that they would be making money off of the capital expenditures that we gave them through the grants. That was the whole point of the grant, was to help a business to make money.
Okay, but like Mr. Neal said, there was supposed to be for job creation as well.
Yeah.
If they're just taking our capital assets that we paid for and now charging the people of the Ridgecrest to use it.
If you're asking about job creation, I don't have an answer for that tonight. I'm just trying to highlight a bonus here, guys.
I think there's a conflict in that bonus. Okay, anyway.
There's not.
So let's wait till we get the report back from before we pursue a whole lot longer. I think I understand where you're going, and I think we will have a report soon that may be able to answer some of those. And if it doesn't, then we can go back and say why or why not. Would you object to that?
No, I wouldn't at all. But for Mr. Sanders' benefit, what I would say is, like, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Mayor, but if the city gave the swap sheet $100,000 to buy new equipment, and then you bought the equipment, and then you are turning around and charging the people of Ridgecrest to use that equipment, that's my point. Okay? So we can go on to the next. A while back, the Ridgecrest had some single-family residences. Have we disposed of those, like the one on Desert Candles, the one we had with Matrix Corporation? We still got those, or are they gone yet?
No, we still have that. Matrix, though, in fact, the north half is being leased.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The north half, we have a contract. We lease the north half of the Matrix building, but the Desert Candles, we still have that.
Okay, well, wasn't there a residential property also involved with the Matrix?
On the Matrix thing, what it was is we had a loan against a property, not the property, and we're in the process of exercising the ability to collect that loan. So that's what that is. It's not, we don't own the property. We just have a lien against the property.
Okay, that's been going on since I was on the council. I'm sorry, which is quite a while ago.
Yes.
Where are we at on that?
We are trying to find out where the estate is. Apparently, the estate is still hung up in probate, believe it or not.
Wow.
So
Okay.
until the probate's concluded and we know who actually owns the property, then we can collect on the property.
Okay, because that was over $100,000, wasn't it?
I think it's $140,000.
Right. Okay, that would lend something to the shortfall. Of course, it is one-time money. What about the Desert Candles house? Why don't we get rid of that thing? You know what? Putting a property on the tax roll is a lot better than having it sitting there empty.
We've had several nonprofits and Habitat for Humanity, and if you know Habitat for Humanity, they rarely do this, turn this down on us giving them the land. The reason for that is the condition of the property and the environmental requirements within that property cost more than the land itself is worth. So we haven't been able to find a buyer for it.
Has it been listed with the real estate?
We've talked to 3 real estate agencies, and they come back and say, well, we can sell it for you for $10,000, maybe $8,000.
Okay, take $10,000 and get it on the tax roll.
The answer is we have not brought that to council at this time.
Okay. Okay. Suggestion to the council.
I didn't even know we owned houses, so.
That was a HUD property we took over for $1 way back when.
We took it for $1.
Yeah, we took it for $1 and it probably was worth about 15 cents, but that's what happened. We overpaid.
Yeah. So my suggestion would be for the council to find out if there's any more or these existing properties and try and turn that into dollars.
Can you do that, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sean King here. I want to speak about Measure L, and I will talk initially about my previous and ongoing impressions of Measure L. And if you find any discontinuity with what my impressions are and what the reality is, I'm doing that in the effort to shed light perhaps for the future of Measure L, in that if my perceptions are incorrect, then perhaps others are as well, but maybe that will help in how to advertise, if you will, to the public as we bring that up again. My primary goals are public safety and roads for government. I think probably that is the basis of what we're doing here. There's many other things that add to that. Initially, when I heard of Measure L, you think an extra tax, and I didn't want to just outright say no, I'm not going to do an extra tax. I don't like those. So my understanding of it was that the budget would still cover police and roads, and then Measure L would be additional funds for police and roads, especially as the roads are in very poor condition. So I said, okay, we'll vote for that. And after that, and here's where this may not be truth, but if that's what people understand, then that's what we're working against, is that funds were used for other things that were budgeted for police and for roads, and then Measure L funds were backfilled into what the budget would have covered. So instead of having the budget plus Measure L, it was perceived as if things were used elsewhere, and then that was scooped in to cover, instead of sort of doubled spending on those necessary items. Now, and having talked to Chief Strand before, I understand that many of the officers are covered on the Measure L funds. And previously, I would say I was minimally involved or minimally informed. I'm even ever thinking of coming to a meeting. The jail was my first interest in, holy cow, our jail is going to close. I think I'm interested now. You've got my attention. And so with that, now I almost don't care where the funds come from. If we're not safe, we don't have a city. But with this information that you'll be getting with Measure L, if you can be as clear as possible to others that I'm sure feel as I do or uninformed as I am or whatever, wherever the truth lies in this, if it can be very clear and so that we will be on board to keep our city safe and so we'll understand what's been spent, how it will be spent, what needs to be done. I think that'd be critical in getting more people on board like myself. I don't want to see it go away if that means that half of our police force goes away. I don't like an extra tax, but if we need to spend whatever that percentage is per dollar. So just to say that, if to wrap up, that if you can be very clear in what you know about how it's been spent, how it will be spent, what will be done, that would be hopefully very helpful in getting others like myself to be behind it. So thank you.
Next meeting. Please. Oh, we'll give you a written report.
Can I just say one thing to you?
Cancel your vacation.
I was on the original oversight committee when we started Measure L, and one of the problems we had was trying to put together the reports that would put the good light on what Ridgecrest was trying to do. We went too far to some degree in reference to generating all those reports and digging into things. And I think this oversight committee that is working now is trying to minimize that over so they can give the public a good representation as to how well Measure L is doing. And I really believe that when you see, or you won't be here, but the public will see that Measure L has done a really good thing in reference to the roads and the police. And I'm hoping that the public will see that as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
Hold on just 1 second, Scott, because I need to ask you one question. When we get the information out there, because some people don't read the paper, some want to do it social media, so where do you get your information on L? Where would be the best place to help put that word out?
I do read the paper and I do read things on Facebook, so I think
Either or both?
those two initially.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to get a feel for that because I do get that a lot, and I want to make sure that we are getting it out in every channel that we can. So thank you. Sorry, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott Leahy. The first thing, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood. It's the grants that they gave these companies. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of that either. But those were funds that were meant for their use in order to generate products or some kind of services that would eventually end up hiring and making property pay taxes for us. Now, Monarch, I think that's Eileen Shibley. She's just great. You know, I mean, she's a very community-minded person, and I've known her for a long time. although I would have probably voted no to give her any dough to start a business, but we did do that, our council did. And so, anyway, I just wanted to say there's no obligation for them. That is their capital equipment. There's really no obligation for them to open their workspaces up for this Q. It's called Q's Workshop, but it's open to the community, and it actually is a great idea having something like that here, because we have young people, we have engineers maybe working on base that get some kind of wild hair idea, that something that's not related to their work, but they want to go build something. Well, it's a good idea to have something like that. It's a good resource for the community. So that's the. I just wanted to make sure we understood. It's like Protexa is not doing anything like that. I have no idea what Protexa is even doing, but they were software developing or whatever. But they're using that money to pay for developers, presumably, and hopefully will end up getting something. I wanted to spend just a second talking about Measure L. I remember there was a lot of controversy, and we had, it's like Phil Salvatore's a really smart guy, but he's just, going. He's a hard charger. And anyway, I know that there were problems because of trying to get all of the reports out of the city, and the city staff was getting frustrated because they were going so, it's just, well, we got to make sure that this dollar didn't go here or went there. I'm glad that the Measure L committee has gotten really more along a line of an even strain so that they can keep track of the stuff. And I do want it kept track of. And I think the council has made a forthright effort to get that done. I'll comment for just a second on Mr. Neal's suggestion that we look to the county for our policing. I think that would be a grave error, one that we would all be very sad about shortly. And if you want any confirmation about that, just notice what happened to our jail. They run it out of Bakersfield. So basically, Bakersfield is going to take care of itself first. Count on it. So anyway, community policing, we have control of our police here. We have a police department that works well with our city and with our citizens, and we have oversight here with our elected representatives to oversee and watch the way that we conduct business. If we do it on a contract, that can be, I won't say that it would automatically happen, but it would open up another avenue of mischief, basically from disconnects between Ridgecrest and Bakersfield. Last point. The reason that we don't have any money is why? Can anybody answer that question?
Lack of revenue.
What's the reason?
Navy.
The base. The base is our great employer, love the base, and it provides no tax base. So basically, all of the trucks that drive on and off base, all of the people that make use of city services, if they were a for-profit corporation, if the Navy was operating over there as General Motors or Caterpillar Tractor, there would be a tax base that would emerge from that endeavor. Now, there are ways to get money from the Navy to help offset the fact that they make up such a large portion of our basically our whole infrastructure is used heavily by people working, going on and off the base. Most of our citizens work there. Our schools receive approximately 2% of their operating budget, and they have a different name for it. It's not property in lieu, it's not payment in lieu of taxes, but it's something similar. basically the feds provide money to our school district, and it's about 2%. Now, I don't know how seriously this has been explored by this city council, but I would consider this to be something that would be really worthwhile. We have a lot of people. I've seen several of you with your pictures standing next to Kevin McCarthy, who is the House Majority Leader. Laugh if you want, but he is the House Majority Leader. He was this close. He was this close to being the secretary or the Speaker of the House. So anyway, perhaps with a little bit of concerted effort on our part and working not only with our representative, although he would be crucial because all funding bills have to start in the House. He would be a crucial man to work with. But also, perhaps we could investigate other areas that are similarly impacted throughout the United States and find, since this is a federal installation, we would be able to draw from other places. Perhaps there are other municipalities that have found ways to get dough out of the federal government to fix these problems. So anyway, those are the points that I wanted to make. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. We are still on the budget hearing, and there isn't any other comment. Is there any other council comment?
Come to the budget hearings when we have those. We discussed exactly that, Scott, because it's been like crickets. We could have pizza and stuff, but we did discuss that, and we discussed some of the opportunities, and because other communities do get pilled. As a matter of fact, almost all of them do, and the county even got pilled. So yeah, we're very aware, and we understand that. So we're working at it, and having your input is great here and at the budget hearings. So just want to put that out there.
Any other council comment?
Yeah. Scott, you made the point that I was going to make about having the sheriff do the law enforcement in Ridgecrest. When I first came on the council, that's something an idea that I was open to, and I looked into it, and I consider myself a very objective thinker, and I was very objective about it. Discussed it a great deal with the community and also with the police chief. It didn't look like a good idea. So I didn't bring it back up anymore. But after seeing how they've treated Ridgecrest with the jail, now I know that I made a good decision by not bringing that back up again. Because I know the county is not, the sheriff's department is not going to treat Ridgecrest the way we need to be treated in terms of law enforcement. So right now, our law enforcement is proactive. We have enough officers on the street to actually chase down the bad guys, find them, and that helps to keep a good control on the crime levels. We do not want to go to a purely reactive law enforcement. It's not. I don't believe it's going to be a pretty picture. And if the sheriff was doing it, that's exactly what would happen. So,
Councilman.
Yes. I think it's a comment or maybe a question. I know we've asked for a lot of reports from various, mainly from Ty and Mr. Spear. Is there any way to help facilitate our transparency as a council to the general public that we can put those reports legally on our website so that the public can see them and they can have access to them?
You're
so they can
talking
see
about the recipients of the grants?
Grants or all the reports that we've been asking from up here?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Because I think that would also help with the public so they can grab it, see it, and come to some conclusions as well, or even help sell other things that need to be out there. So I think it's great that we're asking for all these reports. I'd just like for the public to have access to them as well.
Okay, if there is no further comment, then we will entertain a motion. I made the motion. We had the second. Did we have a second to adopt a continuing resolution?
I'll second.
Moving on to
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Okay, so there'll be no motion for the adoption. We're moving to the continuation.
Number 12, yes.
Item number 12.
Yes, number 12. Was there a second?
I second.
Oh, thought you.
Okay.
And could I recommend perhaps setting a date? We're looking at our calendar. Would council be agreeable to the 29th?
In July?
No,
Of
June.
of this month?
Yes, for me.
Hold on.
It is a Wednesday.
I'm good.
It appears that I am good.
Yep, I can make that too.
What time do we want to make it?
I really struggle to be here by 6. I cannot do sooner.
6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 29th? Budget. One item?
One item.
Okay.
I guess that
Thank
would be
you.
a special meeting then. Yes.
Okay.
So for that meeting, are we going to have ready some proposed
Yes.
reductions in the
Yes.
budget?
Yes.
Yeah, we'd have the new proposal. That'd give us enough time to give it to you beforehand as well.
Okay.
And then,
Thank you.
and then you'll have the option of approving the budget or not, setting up additional meetings as you wish.
So we'll structure that agenda so that we can approve it. Good.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on item 12, the continuing resolution on the budget.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
All approve, one absent.
Okay, we will go back to the public hearing and the results of the votes, please. We're asking if we can take
I just need a
2
minute.
minutes?
I just need a minute.
Two
I just
minutes?
need a minute.
Okay.
Just give me 1 minute. Y'all can continue.
1 minute. He wants to be here to hear it, but he wants a couple of minutes to not be here. So figure that out. Is it a recess? It's a... Pause. It's a pause, thank you. Very good, whoever said that. Good job, Dennis.
A bio break. Thank you, sir.
They tell you, only 2 hours in range.
Thank you. Okay. Wait a minute, I just gave it mine to Eddie. No, I gave it to Eddie. Thank you. I don't need to. Okay.
I have a question.
No, exactly it. We didn't do this. Maybe we were going to next meeting.
Oh, no.
I don't know. No, it wasn't a discussion of this. We were just talking about it on this. No. I just handed it to him. I didn't. You still do it. Okay. You let them know.
Did that become a public document?
Okay, we're going to call the pause back to order.
Yeah, but that's not considered an internal document when you're negotiating.
No, it's because it goes
Okay.
to. it's
If
on
I
their
can
website.
bring this all back to order, please.
It's on their website then.
Oh,
Okay, sir, on the public hearing, you would give us a report.
Madam Mayor, glad to give you a report. Before I give you the results of the balloting, I want to make sure that we all understand that this is a Prop 218 protest ballot proceeding. Requires a majority protest to not move forward with either the annexation or formation. That said, for the Benefit Assessment District, better put on my glasses. We had a total of 42 ballots cast. We actually had 44 ballots returned, but 2 of them were unmarked. They were signed but unmarked, so I can't determine what they wanted to vote. The yes votes, in terms of protest proceedings, it's by dollar amounts. There was $3,598.40 yes, and no's were $179.92. So that one was approved by the property owners. So the Benefit Assessment District, the city clerk will enter those dollar amounts on the first resolution that you're going to be adopting in terms of declaring the results of the balloting, and then you could move forward with adoption of the other resolutions. With regards to the landscape, the annexation of the landscape and lighting district, remember I prefaced this by saying it's a protest proceeding, so you have to have a majority protest to stop it. There were no votes cast.
So what does that mean?
That means it passes.
Okay.
And so there was not a majority protest, and so you can move forward with adopting the resolutions for that one as well.
Okay, so then we will entertain a motion on item 8.
There's two motions, two
Yeah,
resolutions.
do we need 2 separate motions? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The first one and item 9. So item 8, I'm not going to read it all again. It's a whole long, but you can see it on the agenda.
What if we insist?
You insist?
No.
Oh.
Then you read it.
You read it.
So moved. But can I just do a so moved?
Okay, yeah.
Second.
First and second. Okay, so Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent. And then
Okay,
the
item
second
number
motion-
9, the same
No,
thing?
second motion for item number 8
I'm sorry.
is
I'm
to
sorry.
levy the taxes on the tax rolls.
My apology.
Or the assessment, excuse me.
And also, I'll move that as well.
Second?
Acton, Sanders, okay. Councilmember Mauer?
He's not here?
I'm sorry. Have it. Councilmember Thomas?
Are you saying we look alike?
No.
Exactly.
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent.
Okay. Item number 9, then a motion to approve
Approve
the resolution,
the first resolution.
the first resolution. Okay.
First resolution is establishing the assessment district for
Right.
drainage benefit.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent.
Okay,
And
then the second motion.
one levies it for the tax rolls.
Thank you.
So move.
Second.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Breeden?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Acton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanders?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 absent.
I look like you, too. So we look alike. Thank you, sir. Then we declare that meeting over, that hearing over, and we will go to committee reports. Wait a minute, did I miss one? All right, sorry. I thought we approved that. We did approve it.
We did that one.
Oh, well, we
A
did public
continuing
comment on 11.
resolution.
Are you saying we did public comment on 11 but not 12? We kind of combined them. Yeah, we didn't really.
No one made any public comment. Did anyone want to make public comment that wasn't given the opportunity to do so? Okay, thank you.
On the continuing resolution.
No, on number 12, right?
But we already did that. Did we not?
Yes,
Am I
you did.
crazy?
You did.
Just prior to setting the next budget hearing, yes.
Okay, all right. So are we on to committee reports then? Okay, committee reports, city org.
Haven't met yet. We meet next week.
Okay, infrastructure committee,
I'll respond to that one. We meet next Thursday, I believe, the 20. Oh man, the 23rd. Yeah, I was right. Okay, 5 p.m. in the conference room. I am going to be going to that one, but I'm going to try to call in. I think so.
Okay.
I
So
think
we
we'll
will have a
still,
quorum.
we should still have a quorum. We're still absent, you know, well, actually, so
Mr. Mauer?
Mr. Bodwin was on our committee. Can you have a quorum, Keith, if one person's calling in and one person's absent?
No.
So we'll,
Right, because a majority has to be, majority has to be present in the, and that would mean the majority was not present.
I thought that was the case. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, that may have to be postponed.
Can I
You could fill in for me.
go in for you, but then that's
Yeah.
still not a majority.
I don't know. Does that work if
That's a brain teaser. So are you the alternate?
I don't think we have defined all.
We don't have an assigned alternate. They have been using alternates, however, as needed.
Which could.
I'm gonna have to,
Serial.
so the idea is you would be present and you would be present as an alternate for the man who would appear on the phone?
He would not.
So I would be on the phone.
You'd be on the phone. You're the man.
Mike Mauer would be present. Warren Cox would be present, assuming they're both going to make it. Matthew Bodwin is now resigned. So
Right.
can we have another council member fill in for me instead of being on the phone? Obviously, I can't be on the phone if there's two other council members there, but
In essence, they currently only have 3 seated members.
I feel like you're giving me one of those LSAT logic.
So would 2 people,
Moving so slowly right
so
now.
would 2 people constitute a quorum present?
I'm getting there.
They have a
You're one
vacancy.
seat shy. There's
There's a
3 people on the
vacancy.
committee.
There's 3 on the committee.
One's shy, so you need them both to show up.
Right.
And you want to have an alternate replace one of the people showing
No,
up.
I'm sorry, there's normally 4 people.
4 on
We
the
have a
committee.
vacancy.
Okay, so now you got a 3-man.
So now you have a 3-man panel.
Which is still the quorum.
So if 2 of those are present,
Right.
can he teleconference in?
And make a quorum.
Because
Yes.
two would be a
Yes.
quorum of 3.
Yes, because a majority is present.
The majority of the seated panel
Correct.
would be present.
Yeah, I misunderstood the number.
oh, so because one is vacant, I mean it's. I
Then you
think
could
by
say that-
municipal
right,
codes.
Well, the quorum is,
What is the quorum? I guess at that point.
crap. You know what, let me look.
I think we've confused the
That
heck
was
out
a
of
very
it.
legal answer. Oh, crap. I like that.
Well, sorry about that.
That was
I
good.
just realized it depends on the language of the statute, and I got to see if it's a majority of the quorum or a majority of the board. And that's a weird hair to split, but it comes up every once in a while, so I
Yeah.
got to look to see what the
Okay.
statute says.
You'll let
Okay.
us know.
Yeah, I can do it right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Karen will need to know by probably. Well, I don't know when does she has 72 hours to post the agenda, so probably Monday of next week would be the latest for her to post the agenda.
I'm gonna-
Okay. The Ad hoc Water Committee, Conservation Committee, I think we can take that off. I think I mentioned that last time. We're not meeting right now
Yeah, we could take it.
because we are working on other things and we aren't meeting. If you want to keep it on there, that's fine, but we aren't meeting. Okay, Parks and Rec and Quality of Life.
I think we should schedule a meeting with Mr. Patton, especially after the information that he just received tonight and his willingness to say whatever you like, ma'am.
And I'm so going to use that to my advantage. However, we cannot meet at noon because of my job, so we are going to have to go to an evening meeting, Jason. So I will shoot you out an email, and I will do the best to do it as early as I can and work within the confines that you have.
Okay, the Youth Advisory Council.
They're on break.
Okay. Action Committee. Ridgecrest RACVB.
Not until the first of the month.
Okay, other committees and boards and commissions. Sir, do you have any to report?
No, ma'am.
Lori?
BLM meets next Thursday at 6.
I have
Jim?
none.
There's just one Friday at 5 o'clock. There's going to be a GSA meeting here. And although for the eligible agencies, which are Kern County, Inyo County, San Bernardino County, City of Ridgecrest, Indian Wells Valley Water District, and those other agencies who are, what are we calling them? The Navy and
general members and associate members.
And associate members. Okay, that's the Navy and BLM. Is that correct?
And maybe, yes, I think currently. There could be others.
Yeah, right now. Okay, 5 o'clock here, Friday.
And just a question, there is no Monday meeting then? Just the Friday meeting?
No Monday meeting.
Well, you know, based on the way Mr. Christensen was changing the schedules, I had on my calendar both Friday and then I also had the
I don't know.
The 20th on Monday. So there is no Monday meeting, just the Friday meeting.
I also had on my calendar a meeting tomorrow, but I think that's not, I think
That's-
we're only.
I know that was canceled.
Yeah, we're only doing a meeting on Friday to my knowledge.
Now, we're having the groundwater management meeting. That is Thursday on the night, wait a minute, I'm in May, no wonder I can't figure out where I am. It is Thursday the 16th at 1 o'clock at the Water District. Okay.
So the GSA is this Friday.
This Friday. Okay. Any other committee and boards or commissions? None. Okay. City managers report.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, just two things. One's a question. We have well, I won't say it's heavy, but we have a full agenda on the 6th, and because it's so close to the 4th, we wanted to make sure that we were going to have a quorum, because we even have a couple presentations.
To answer your question, Mr. Spear, I will not be here.
You won't be here.
No, sir. I will be just getting back that day from vacation.
I'm here.
I'm always here.
Which day was it again?
July 6th.
Saw a squirrel. Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, good. All right, good. And the second thing is Ms. Harker, Public Works, provided me with a projects list as far as projects that we have under construction right now. I won't read the details. I'll just read the headings. We are completing, it's in progress now. We're completing the city yard improvements. The bus garage is, we're reviewing the shop drawings so that construction can take place a little bit later this summer. We have a CMAQ project with the traffic signal synchronization, which will take us from Ridgecrest Boulevard to College Heights. And obviously that's dependent on the construction that's taking place for the new traffic signal at Bowman and Channel Lake Boulevard. We have this project that you just approved tonight, South China Lake Boulevard between Bowman and College Heights. HSIP project, that's the Hazard Safety Improvement Project program for the traffic signal at Bowman and China Lake. We have the HSIP for the widening of Drummond between Nino and Down Street. The CMAQ project on North Warner between Drummond and West Howell. CMAQ project to South Graff between North Sierra and the 600 feet east, I guess there's no street there. And then TAB project, East Drummond, reconstruction between China Lake Boulevard beyond Chelsea. And let's see, TAB project, Gateway between Church and East Ridgecrest Boulevard that we're going to be advertising. We've already, the advertisements already went out. We'll be scheduled to hopefully award on July 6th council meeting for that Gateway project. The 2016 street improvement projects, there are 14 different streets, and they will be advertised as far as construction on June 1st, which was last week, but it'll be, the bids will be opened and hopefully that'll return to council on the 6th. Then we have our 2016 micropaving projects. There isn't a separate listing of those, but those were presented as part of the Public Works presentation for the budget. And there will be the PMS update. The draft report will be ready, or is due actually this week, and then after that's been reviewed by staff, the consultant will be presenting it to the council. And those are the construction projects. There are 3 more pages of projects that are in design. If I'm going to read them, I will. Otherwise, I'll leave it there at the construction.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have.
So, city manager, okay, council comments?
I'm first. I'm used to Mr. Meyer being the first one. Real quick, I think this council is awesome. Being able to meet for several weeks, going through, I think, hard issues, hearing the public, working through various things. I wanted to say I am really, really happy and proud of this council that really have put in the hours and the time to listen to the people and begin to make some hard decisions. I also wanted to thank staff for being here with us, preparing all that hard data, information, financial people. Mr. Spear, a lot of times you don't get a lot of credit, but thank you, Ty, thank you for what you guys do here. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was our website, and one of the things that our mayor constantly is in almost every meeting that goes on in the city. She's always talking about how we ought to sing our song and sing it well, because we do a lot of things well. And I think our website, we can take some lessons from Mr. Matthews in reference to how hard or how easy it is to access it and to gain the information. I believe if he is the youngest person in this room, and if he has the ability to access it easy, then that's a good sign. And if he's having a difficult time accessing it, I think we need to look at it and make it so much easier so that even he can get to it. So whatever we can do to make it sing our song, because we got great things to sing about, and we continue to push that message forward. So that's really all that I had to say. Thank you.
All right.
I'm tired. We've worked hard. We've still got a ways to go. I know that our staff has, if I'm tired, I can imagine how staff must feel, because we really have, can we have this, can we have this, can we have this, show up, call, email. And I just appreciate it. I appreciate all the work that everybody puts in all the time. We have had some hard decisions, and we've stepped up. I think we work well together. I think we're doing what's in the best interest of our community. I think we listen. And I think we ask the questions that maybe have been asked before, but asked in a different way, so it's being heard. And sometimes I think we ask the ones that nobody wanted to ask before, because it's hard, and it's hard to admit this is where we messed up and this is what we need and how do we get there. People don't like to admit that. So I think it's great that we're looking at that and taking steps in that direction to solve some of the issues and tackle some of the things that we haven't done before, because it's needed and we're way overdue. I think that's about all I have. Have a good night.
Thank you. Sir.
Just a sincere appreciation to staff for all the hard work you guys have been putting in on the budget. The budget time is a very difficult time for us, but it's a very difficult time for staff. And I know there's been a lot of hours put in, and all the department heads putting their comments in, and also especially the finance department. So thank you for all the hard work you guys have been doing, and good job. So I just want to go home. Good night.
I echo you all and say thank you. So I will make a motion to adjourn, please. We're adjourned. Do we need to vote on that? Mrs. Ford, we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.